What's going on, guys? It's the Sports Talk Country here, and today I'm starting a new series called Quick Take. Basically, I'll be sharing my opinions on ongoing topics in sports or just things we may see in the future in sports, but in like 8 minutes or less. I know that's sort of the idea of this channel, but this is designed so I do it in 8 minutes or less per topic. So videos will be around 15 minutes. I'll try to have some topics under 5, but this video will have 2 longer topics, so it should add up to 15 minutes. Alright, let's get into it. So first up in this video, we're going to be talking about the NBA's one and done rule. Recently, this has been generating headlines because of Adam Silver stating that the league will discuss changing the one and done rule. No one's entirely sure if this means raising the age limit to 21 or lowering it back down to 18, but whatever happens, change needs to happen. The NBA is the only Big Four league where the age required to be drafted isn't 18 or 21. It's not officially 19, though. It's just that a player must be 1 year removed from high school, hence why 18-year-olds can be drafted into the league, though most will turn 19 that summer. In the NFL, you have to be 21, though that doesn't necessarily mean 3 years of playing time. Of course, we see redshirt sophomores like Jameis Winston get taken high all the time. It's just that you have to be 21. But since they're already 21, they come in more polished and contribute in the league immediately. That's why the NFL draft is the most popular draft in the Big Four, because fans will see their teams take players who will step in and contribute immediately. In the NHL, players have to be 18. They're drafted from a variety of sources, such as the CHL, Europe, NCAA, USHL, high school, and more. But only the very best make the jump to the league right away. Most stay with their old teams for one more year, and most of those that do sign go to the AHL. Of course, having the AHL as a true farm system helps NHL squads, and this will come up later. In the MLB, teams draft players either straight out of high school or after at least 3 years in college. Most of the high school players have college commitments locked up in case they don't get drafted high or don't get drafted at all. The MLB system is the one I think the NBA should most replicate, and now is the time. Plus, it's become a problem. Looking at the top college recruits coming into 2016, you see a top 10 consisting of Josh Jackson, Lonzo Ball, Harry Giles, Markelle Fultz, De'Aaron Fox, Dennis Smith Jr., Jason Tatum, Jonathan Isaac, and Malik Monk, in that order. Now compare that to the top 10 selections in the NBA draft this year. Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball, Jason Tatum, Josh Jackson, De'Aaron Fox, Jonathan Isaac, Frank Ntilikina, Dennis Smith Jr., and Zach Collins. 7 of those names were in both lists. Additionally, all those top recruits I mentioned were one-and-dones who just got drafted later, and of the top 10 picks that went to college since Frank Ntilikina played in France before being drafted, he's irrelevant here. The other 2 were also one-and-dones, just ranked lower. See, the top 10 selections in a given year has pretty much become reflective of the previous year's top recruits. Maybe it's just because this was a freshman-heavy year, but because the talent pool is larger than ever, there are more one-and-dones than ever. Some don't even get drafted, so that's a double whammy, and when the one-and-done problem really comes to fruition, if these players are already known as the best in the country, their age group, why force them to spend a year in college, especially if they already know they're going to get drafted high the next year? That's the only thing on their mind. School is really irrelevant to them, that's another factor here. In Ben Simmons' documentary, it stated that he was only focused on improving his game for the NBA in college. Once he had a passing grade in his classes, which was really only a 1.8 GPA, because that's all the NCAA requires, he just stopped going to class. He doesn't need to if he knows he'll get drafted high in the NBA and has a long NBA career. If he busts, well, maybe he'll go back to school and focus on finding a new job. But if he spends 10 years in the league as a stud, I mean, he already has enough money to last. Let the players get into the league a year early. If they already know they're the best, let them show it to NBA audiences earlier instead of keeping them in college for just 1 more year. And plus, if they're not really ready to compete in the NBA, we have the D-League, or G-League, as it's being rebranded as the NBA Gatorade League. And this is why now is truly the time to get rid of the one-and-done rule, because the G-League is going to become a true minor league affiliate next season, with teams being able to give players 2-way contracts. Basically, the G-League will fully become to the NBA what the AHL is to the NHL. The only problem is not every team has a G-League affiliate, but only 4 don't, and 1 has a plan to set one up in the near future. The Pelicans, another one of those 4 teams, are currently looking at expansion sites. So that leaves 2 teams without an affiliate, the Nuggets and the Blazers. It would be easy to set up an additional 2 G-League franchises, I'm guessing, as they're adding 3 for next season, so it wouldn't be too much of an expansion overhaul. The Nuggets and Blazers adding a team will be inevitable in the near future, as they're at a clear disadvantage without one, unless they decide to share a franchise with another team. They're still at a disadvantage then, as being the only teams without their own. So anyway, the G League will need to be fixed, but once that happens, players who aren't quite ready can go to the G League, while the ones that are ready can go straight to the NBA. And you may think that this leaves college basketball at a disadvantage, but really this might be even better for college ball, at least as a fan. There will be more consistency. In college football, I'm happy when my team, Clemson, signs a top recruit, obviously because he's good, but also because he'll be there for at least 3 years. In college basketball, at the top of the sport at least, the blue blood schools like Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, and Kansas are built on one-and-dones. These one-and-dones lead them to lots of success and title runs, and once the season's over, the next batch of top recruits comes in and does the same thing. This causes a lack of parity, and you'd think with no salary cap, college sports have the ability to become top-heavy. And they are, sort of. I mean, only a few teams have what it takes at the beginning of the year, but that list changes every year because recruits are more meaningful since they spend 3 years there. In college basketball, that list is more or less the same every year. I mean, those blue bloods are literally basketball factories, with players who plan to go one and done just committing for the sake of playing for a good team while they prepare for the NBA. And the same thing happens every year. In college football, players care more about their education. Top recruits, at least, since they'll spend 3 years there. So that influences their decision as much as playing for a good program. And from a fan's perspective, we like players more because of more exposure to them. If a star player spends 3 years at a program instead of 1, you get 3 times the memories. And even though with the one-and-done rule, that star player gets replaced by another star player after they get drafted, maybe an even better one in some cases, that process just keeps happening. You grow more attached to that player that spent 3 or 4 years. What if they led you to your team's best season of your lifetime in their second year there, but they came up short of a title? But then the next season, in their last game, they got their revenge against the same team on a game-winning touchdown with 2 seconds left. You know what I'm referencing here.
Touchdown!
Point is, you grow more attached to players who've been there longer because of more exposure. I know this was a lot to take in, but overall, if the same general model that happens in college football would happen in college basketball, I'd enjoy the sport even more. Spending 3 years at least in college means the sport is built more on teamwork rather than literal basketball factories hoarding top recruits and churning out talent every year. And just to be clear, this really isn't about the majority of players or teams. When I implied before that players might as well skip class, I just mean the top recruits. If you're not a surefire pro at the next level, you play college sports, and just if you go to college in general, I mean, don't skip class. Stay in school, kids. And also, I know most college basketball teams are built on players that spend 3 years and usually 4 years there. I mean, as a Clemson fan, we're a mediocre team in the top conference in all of college basketball, so winning is tough and 5-star recruits never come through here. But with the best teams in the sport, one-and-dones come through all the time. Not talking about the majority here, just the best. And also, yes, college football doesn't have a ton of parity. I mean, that was my opinion before Clemson got their revenge on Bama because I thought the Tide was unbeatable, but arguably more than college basketball.
So, before we start getting into the MLB postseason part of the video, I just want to say that this is very outdated because, well, a lot of stuff happened from data loss to bent CPU pins. But the point is that this video was delayed a lot, so just have an open mind while watching this, and hopefully you can enjoy it. Okay, onto the actual video.
So let's move on to our next topic, which will be previewing the MLB postseason. I know there's still a lot of baseball to be played, but the All-Star break is soon. You can start to see which teams are clearly contending and which teams clearly suck by now. This time last year, the Giants were the top team in the league, having the best record in baseball going into the All-Star break. This year, they're one of 2 teams with a winning percentage below Ryan Zimmerman's batting average this season, .352, which is the best in baseball. However, the Cubs, of course, the world champions last year, were only 4th, but I remember pretty clearly that they were going through an awful run that time last year. They had the best record for most of the year before that, though. And this year, the team with the best record for the majority of the season would be the Astros, though it's close, with a trio of NL West teams and the Nats just a couple games behind. The Nats were the best team for most of April, but the Astros have ruled the last 2 months. Dallas Keuchel's finally back to his 2015 Cy Young form, though as I wrote this, he was injured. And Lance McCullers Jr. is panning out into even more than you'd expect from a guy taken 41st overall. Keuchel and McCullers have the first and fourth best ERAs in all of baseball, even beating out Clayton Kershaw, who may not be having the best year ERA-wise, but he's been extremely hard to beat, and that's a big part of the reason why the Dodgers are the NL's top club. But it's about more than pitching for the Astros. Jose Altuve and George Springer have been red hot this year in terms of hitting, and everyone knows the Astros are young. Carlos Correa and Alex Bregman are only getting better, and they're already playing well. Sports Illustrated predicted the Astros to win the World Series in 2017 3 years ago, largely due to their resurgent youth movement. Looks like that prophecy is coming true. So I'm nabbing the Astros as World Series favorites. Who's going to come out of the NL? Or more specifically, who's going to come out of the NL West? The division has been baseball's best in a while, rivaling the dominance of the 2015 NL Central, even in a year where the Giants are baseball's poop emoji. Zach Greinke looked like a free agent flop for the D-backs this time last year, but this year he's made every penny of that $206.5 million contract that takes up a huge percentage of Arizona's tiny payroll worth it. Combine that with a breakout co-ace in Robbie Ray, and we have a team who could go far in October. The Dodgers have long been the class of the division. They still are, but they have competition. Though a lot of good is happening this year. They spend the GDP of a small Caribbean island every year to pay for their playing staff, and their on-field product has probably been the NL's best this season. Did you think a rookie could have a better performance than Corey Seager did last year for the Dodgers? Well, Cody Bellinger has had an even better rookie campaign, already having tied Gary Sanchez's rookie record for most home runs in his first 50 games, a record set only last year. Then there's the Rockies, who've been very hot recently, this broiling team in the NL West recently. As I write this, I think they've been losing recently, but whatever. They're third in ERA, first in the NL in runs scored, and playing white-hot defense, some of the best in the league this June. They're really using the mile-high wind to their advantage this year with a good home record and the NL's best road record so far, performing even better when they're not at home, but good enough so that they're used to it. Then there's the Nats, who have Mad Max playing the best baseball of his career, second in ERA this year. Their ace is hot, so the team is hot. Bryce Harper has brought out some of the best baseball in his career, but if you're actively following baseball, you know all this stuff already. So what's going to happen in the playoffs, knowing all this? Well, we may look back and laugh at this in October, but as of now, here's my prediction. You can trust me with this one. I mean, I predicted a Panthers Super Bowl run 2 years ago, so I get stuff right sometimes. Sometimes. I could only get a single top 5 pick right at the NHL mock draft, but whatever. On to the predictions. So, if the playoffs happened at the time we edited this video, and only at the time we edited this video, the Astros, Indians, and Yankees would be division champions, with the Red Sox and Twins slotting in as wild cards. And I don't actually see the Twins making the playoffs. I mean, they're just a pretty weak team. It's just that the AL wild card race is so packed as I write this, and it still is right now. And so a different team will probably take over. But whatever, Twins aren't going far anyway. In the NL, the champions would be the Dodgers, Brewers, and Nationals. The Brewers are only half a game ahead of the Cubs at the time I write this, so the Cubs could easily replace them as the NL Central champion, and I think they will. I mean, not just as a tandem fan of both the Pirates and the Cubs. The Cubs are my 1B team. I mean, I prefer that, but also the Cubs are just more talented. Some people think the Brewers are having a fluke run. But I don't think the Cubs are repeating as World Series champions anyway, or even making it. I predicted an Indians-Cubs rematch at the beginning of the year, but I think the NL champion will be one of the NL West teams. So, the Red Sox won the AL wildcard game easily. And I hate to get rid of the Diamondbacks or Rockies this early, as both were breakout teams no one saw coming this year and the second and third best records in baseball, but one of them must go. I'm sold on the Diamondbacks going far this year, though. Zach Greinke and Robbie Ray are currently baseball's best pitching combo. In the NL, at least. Plus, they have the 2 top leaders in RBIs in the league and the second highest team ERA in the league. Paul Goldschmidt is having a career year by his standards, and that's saying a lot. The bullpen has corrected itself as the season progressed. I see the Diamondbacks winning this, largely because of pitching. In the divisionals, I'm going Astros over Red Sox and Indians over Yankees. Partially because I want to get rid of 2 premier teams in the Yankees and the Red Sox, but also because the Yankees might be too young. They'll get another World Series ring in the near future with their future core and the possibility of signing Bryce Harper in a couple summers, but like the Astros in 2015, they might be too young. However, the Astros this year aren't too young. I mean, even Sports Illustrated predicted that 2017 would be the year of the Astros, all the way back in 2014. However, in the ALCS, I see the Astros topping the Indians in a close series. Ultimately, it comes down to the better pitching combo, and no matter how good Andrew Miller ends up being in the playoffs, as he changed the fate of games in the last playoffs, the Astros have two top 4 pitchers in baseball right now. Last year in the World Series, the Cubs had the better starters, and while the Indians had the best starter out of everyone in Corey Kluber, they didn't have a whole lot else to offer in terms of starters. Carrasco and Salazar are back this year, but the Astros still have the pitching advantage. The Indians will get their rings someday with this young core, but this appears to be the year of the Astros. In the NL, I actually see the Diamondbacks topping the Dodgers in a close series. This was tough to predict, but ultimately, Zach Greinke will lead the D-backs over his former team because Arizona has the better top 2 pitchers at the moment. I know LA leads the league in team ERA, but the D-backs actually rank higher in team batting average right now, so they could have the batting advantage. And they have 2 aces right now. The Dodgers have the premier ace in baseball and an ace of a closer. If the D-backs bullpen can compete, I see them winning because of that pitching advantage. I know I said the Dodgers have the better team ERA, but the D-backs just have the 2 aces on their starting lineup, the more marketable names, so I mean, maybe that'll just work for them and lead them over the Dodgers, be a better advantage to have. Next, we have the Nationals and Brewers. I'd say the Nats win without a doubt. Nats and Diamondbacks, I'm going Diamondbacks here, and I've mentioned a lot of reasons already. They just have a lot of stats in their favor, so that pits the Astros against the Diamondbacks in the World Series, and here, I guess the Astros in 6. The Astros have the best pitching combo in baseball at the moment, even though the Diamondbacks also have a pretty good pitching combo on their own, and rank first in team batting average. They're the best at both pitching and hitting right now. I say they overpower the Diamondbacks in 6. And just remember, these are predictions before the All-Star break. A lot will change. The MLB season is just so long that if one team that's been utter trash all year gets hot, they could sneak in and just casually win the World Series off their momentum. So much will change, we'll probably laugh at these predictions come October. But, as I'll always say with predictions, if any of these happens, you heard it here first. So that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I taught you something, or you agree with a few of the points I made. So just to give you a quick preview for what's coming up in the future, that parody video that I think I mentioned in the NHL draft preview will be coming, and I'll have a recap on both the NBA and NHL draft and free agency packed into one video, and the big one. I'll be doing a scenario titled, What If LeBron Played in the NFL? LeBron was a star receiver in high school and even got a scholarship offer to Notre Dame by Urban Meyer, who was their wide receiver coach at the time. This won't be like other videos you may have seen with the same title where people just make LeBron a player in Madden and drop him into a random game. No, this will be a scenario on if he had taken up Urban's offer to Notre Dame and played college football there. Then I'll drop him into the 2006 NFL Draft, and I'll detail how his career and legacy would change as the Saints star tight end instead of the Cavs star small forward, and how the landscape of the NFL would change. If any of the upcoming videos I mentioned sound interesting, do yourself a favor and hit the subscribe button so you're notified when they come out. Peace, y'all.